How's it going? I'm Leo Lee, and this is another Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree video. And on this one, I'm gonna go over the process of how I learned to parry. Let's get started. Alright, so I get comments here and there on my videos asking how I get good at parrying. And I know a lot of them, they're just saying it just to give me a compliment. But I figure, why not make a video and show my process of learning to parry enemies in Elden Ring. So, first things first, let's go over a couple of Ash of Wars. So there is Golden Parry and Carian Retaliation. Both are great Ash of Wars for parrying. But for practice purposes, and just all around parrying, I prefer Golden Parry, because what Golden Parry will do is it gives you an extended range, which allows you to keep a safer distance from the enemy while still being able to parry them with this skill. What Carian Retaliation does, however, is you can parry any magical projectile, so fireballs or like Rolana's magic slashes. You can parry those, and what it'll do is it'll create, the mage skill, the phalanx. It'll give you those swords, which will automatically fire at the enemy. So if you're somebody who wants to parry projectiles, or if you're on a boss that shoots a lot of projectiles, Carian Retaliation is a great choice. Both of these do cost FP. Golden Parry costs 4, Carian Retaliation costs 8. Now, the reason why I normally don't run Golden Parry when I'm just doing my regular playthrough, the reason I don't run it is because I don't pump any stats into my mind. So I don't have a ton of FP. So even 4 FP, considering the amount of times I'm going to be parrying, it's precious to me. And now, because of that, I'm going to have to manage my FP along with my HP. And particularly in boss fights, you already have to struggle to find a window to heal safely. If I'm using Golden Parry, I'm also now going to have to find a safe window to drink my FP flask. So that's twice the headache, which is why I just don't deal with it. And the thing is, a naked buckler has the same startup frames as Golden Parry and Carian Retaliation. All of the above give you 8 frame startup, which is the fastest parry startup frames. The difference being is the parry window, is how long of a window you have of active parry frames. Both Golden Parry and Carian Retaliation, according to a couple of frame data videos I watched, they give you 15 active parry frames, whereas the buckler gives you 11 active frames. For me, it's all about the startup. I'm not worried about the window, and the difference between 11 and 15 frames, that's 4 frames. That's practically nothing. So for all intents and purposes, a naked buckler, Golden Parry, and Carian Retaliation, they all have the same parry. For me, it's the startup frames I'm most concerned about. So with that said, what's cool about practicing with Golden Parry or Carian Retaliation is that when you feel comfortable with the parry system, and you think you're at a point where you're pretty good with parries, and you don't want to use the Ash War because you're like me, you don't want to have to worry about your FP. The beautiful thing is, you can take this Ash of War off now, and you can switch to a naked buckler. And you won't have any issues transitioning to it, because you are now used to the startup frames, and you have gotten better at your parry timing. So you no longer have to rely on things like Golden Parry and Carian Retaliation. The only thing is, if you were practicing with Golden Parry, you do have to keep in mind when you go to a naked buckler, now you have to get closer to the enemy. This is why, if you've seen my other videos, I'm always right up against enemies. Which, most of the time, that's the advice that you want to give to players anyways, for boss fights especially. Usually staying close to the bosses allows you to dodge the attacks easier. A lot of times you can just kind of circle around them, and their attacks will just straight up miss you. So it's generally a good idea to stay close to enemies anyways. But, I didn't mean to sit at the grace. But let's show you guys how to, I don't know why my cadence was like, let's show you guys. But let's show you guys how I go about practicing my parries on when I come across new enemies and I'm struggling to parry them. The first thing you want to do is pick a spot where there's an enemy you want to practice against and they're right by a site of grace. For this case, in the DLC, I chose the small private altar because there's a very fun enemy to parry here. Oop. If I don't accidentally fall down. This guy. So this enemy gave people quite the trouble when this DLC first came up. Oh, I forgot to say. So the reason I'm using this brass shield is because it has 100% physical block, which means I'm not going to take damage. Well, I do have to worry about my poise. I won't take damage when I get when I get hit with the shield up. And why is that good? So when I'm practicing parrying, I can hold the shield up and parry in the middle of it. And when I miss my parries, my shield immediately goes back up, so it'll block following attacks. So this is my process of learning how to parry enemies, which I'm not doing too hot right now. We'll just dodge that one. Block that. So this is what I literally do. I'll sit here when I'm on a new enemy, and I'll just practice parrying them. And I pay attention to what moves they're doing. Try to keep a safe distance of golden parry. Learn the timing. There you go. And this is it. This is literally what I do over and over and over again until I feel comfortable parrying the enemy. See, now I have to worry about my FP flask. I'm glad that happened, because now I can't get my FP flask on. This is why I typically don't like running. It's exactly why I don't use golden parry or Carian retaliation. Glad that happened. Oh yeah, should have shown you guys. See, the brass shield, 100% physical block. It has, pretty good magic and fire and all that defense. Good guard boost for a medium shield, 56 guard boost. So very excellent for when you're starting out. It's a very excellent strategy, or a good strategy, to hold up your block and parry in the middle of holding it up. Once again, in case you miss a parry, your shield immediately goes back up and you'll be able to block follow-up attacks. The safest way to parry. But let's go get my runes. Let's parry this guy. Ooh. Parry there. Give him a little charge R2. Say goodnight. And that's it. This is the process with any enemy I struggle with. And once you get comfortable with, parry timing and just the idea of parrying, once you get used to it, again, you can immediately go over to the buckler, a naked buckler, and just do the exact same thing you've been doing. The timing is no different with the naked buckler and golden parry. See that? No different. The transition is super easy once you learn. Boom. It's okay. You can eat a few hits in between. But there you go. And that is how I learn how to parry. I'm not some super gifted natural gamer where I can just walk in on any new enemy and just immediately parry 100% of their moves. What's funny is actually this enemy that we just that I used as a training dummy. The first time I came across him, yeah, I did parry him twice and immediately wiped him. But you know, once you get comfortable with parrying and you start learning, you know, the mechanics of it all, it translates really well across multiple enemies. You're not going to be able to walk up to every brand new enemy and then just parry all their moves, but you know, you'll be able to parry pretty consistently at least some of their moves, even if it's your first time coming across them, because you start to understand the animation of attacks and when to initiate your parry. Most of the time, what you want to look out for is when enemies are attacking, you usually want to pay attention to the hand. So a lot of times they'll telegraph their attacks. Once that hand starts coming down, is normally when you want to initiate your parry. That's not going to be the case for every single enemy, mind you. There are some, because of how FromSoft designed some of their attacks, there's some enemies where they will telegraph that attack, but it doesn't come down. It doesn't come down as slow as, you know, a typical attack that you see. That hand will drop like instantly. So with those type of attacks, you have to parry it as soon as you see them telegraph that hand up. I think who is it? Rolana. So Rolana has one of those moves. It's kind of like she has a really quick upward swipe with her left arm. That one, as soon as you see that left arm go back, you want to start initiating your parry, because if you do it any later than that, by the time you see that swing come upwards, you can't parry it anymore. The other trick you have to look out for, which FromSoft loves doing in Elden Ring, is enemies will have certain attack patterns. Like Radon is an excellent example. One of his starting attack chains is he has a right arm swipe with the sword. So he'll either start with that or he'll do a stomp. The problem is that swipe is one of those moves where you have to parry pretty early, and because of that, as soon as you see like kind of any of that starting animation, like your brain has you like pressing your parry right then and there. Problem is, because sometimes he starts with the stomp instead and you can't parry the stomp, you get hit. So you really can't rely on your reflexes too much when it comes to parrying, and it's very, very hard to, very, very difficult to do sometimes with bosses. The other thing you can do is you can just bait out, like learn which moves can be parried and just bait out those moves. You don't have to sit there and try to parry every single attack. You just try to avoid every other attack that you have problem parrying, and wait till you see the attack that you're very confident you can parry. I'll use Rolana as an example again. She has one of those attacks where she kind of dashes in a half circle, and then she'll do a backhand slash. That one is her easiest move to parry, and that's exactly what I'm talking about. You can wait and just bait out that move and just parry that one. So that's another strategy. Now I want to show you guys a couple of talismans that synergize pretty well with parrying. We got the Blade of Mercy. What it will do is it's going to raise your attack power after each critical hit, which you're going to get a ton of when you're doing parries because you do that riposte. And then you also have the Dagger Talisman, which further enhances critical hits. So you got the Dagger Talisman that's going to enhance the critical hit itself when you first riposte after a parry. And then every attack after that, while this is active, while the Blade of Mercy is active, it's going to enhance your attack power. The other one you can use, especially for those of you who want to run Carian Retaliation or Golden Parry, a useful one to run could be the Cerulean Dagger, because every critical hit's going to give you some FP back. You can also do the HP thing. So that's another good one that you can run. And those are really the best ones you can run with, like, you know, a parry playstyle. And of course, if you guys aren't aware, daggers give you higher critical hits. So what I see a lot of players do is they'll have like this Misericordia. I think this is the highest critical in the game. I don't think there's a dagger that has a higher critical than this. It has 140 critical. I don't know what it gives you at level 25. I have it at 24. But Yeah, a lot of players who like to parry, they'll just keep this stashed in their right hand. And then I'll show you. After they parry, right before they do a critical, they'll switch to the dagger. They'll do that. I'll go in. Look at that. I did 4,560. And then just switch back. There you go. So that's one thing you can do. I personally don't do that. I don't mind having to parry, like, you know, a couple of more times to get the same amount of damage. But just something I wanted to let you guys know in case you just want to maximize your damage. Want to parry the guy, after you stagger them from the parry, switch to your dagger, and then go ahead and get your critical. Well, there you have it. That is my process of learning how to parry in Elden Ring. Very simple. Again, just walk up to any random enemy that's next to a site of grace and just get to parrying. Literally just sit there with your shield up, golden parry infused, and parry whenever the enemy's about to attack until you get good at it. Literally get good at it. Trust me, this is what I did in the base game for hours across many different enemies, especially on bosses. Just dying to them over and over and over and over again, just stubbornly sitting there parrying. But what is cool about that is I don't get frustrated when I'm learning how to do this, because literally I'm not trying to beat them. I'm just trying to learn how to parry them. So it doesn't matter if I die 200 times. It's all in the name of parrying fun. If you haven't tried it, you really should. In my opinion, when you learn how to parry in Souls games, it changes the dynamic of the game. It's super fun. That's what I love doing on my first playthrough is I do these parry runs, no summons, no ash, none of that. And then subsequent playthroughs, that's when I'll start, you know, doing all the Asher Wars. I don't worry so much about parrying, and I do OP builds and things like that. But yeah, parrying, in my opinion, feels very, very rewarding. But that's all I have to say for now. Hopefully, I spoke clearly and you guys enjoyed this content. Please, if you did, like the video and subscribe to the channel. Now, enjoy this collection of my parry moments. That's so corny. Bye-bye. Okay, patience. Don't get greedy, Leo. Shit. Hear that? Woohoo! Yes! Oh no, he's still alive! You're not anymore. There we go. Woo! One more parry, please. Give me one more parry. Thank you. Yes! Come on, die, die, die! No! No! Please die. Please die. Yes! Ugh! It was sloppy. Second phase was really sloppy, but I don't care. I'm fine. I'm fine with it.